You obviously know where this is heading, Mendeecees. And before you say, oh, guess who was caught sneaking in and out of Chrissy's former condo when she was out of town for a few weeks? Just when we thought we had seen it all, new receipts that have the potential to rock the whole love and hip-hop universe have just been released. Chrissy Lampin, and now that Mendeecees' toxic relationship has been made public, let's see what's actually happening behind the scenes. How did these two come up entangled in this web of drama, treachery, and plain messiness? And why is Yandy going crazy over it? And we have the evidence to support it. We're talking about leaked texts, secret meetings, and rumors of a dubious connection that even the most devoted followers are in disbelief. Was this the ultimate betrayal? Or was it prearranged? Get your popcorn, because this tea is hot. And I promise you won't look back after seeing this video. Smash that like button, because we're going to delve deep into this complicated, jaw-dropping scandal. And you won't believe what we found. I'm looking at Chrissy and Mendeecees the same way again. We all know Chrissy Lamin as the no-nonsense queen of love and hip-hop. So buckle on, because this is going to become really messy. Next up is Mendeecees Harris, Mr. I've Changed, but somehow they're always involved in drama. But what if I told you that Chrissy and Mendeecees have a lot more history than they're revealing? What if I told you that there is proof linking them, meet in unexpected ways? And let's just say, it's not nice. To start, how do Chrissy and Mendeecees even know one another? Because let's face it, they never really come into contact on camera like that. But behind the scenes, there's a different story. Before Men's even connected with Yon Dandy Smith, he was less going around in circles that were far too similar to Chrissy's world, discussing late-night business matters, having mutual friends, and let's just say, exchanging favors. Do you recall the time when Chrissy and Jim Jones were juggling all of the financial drama? Sources are now claiming that money was being transferred in ways that weren't quite legal, asking, can you guess who was involved in making those transactions go away? Yes, Mendeecees himself. But wait, it gets worse. Chrissy and Jim's relationship was always rocky, as evidenced by the time she proposed to him on national television, only for him to back out and maintain delaying marriage for more than 10 years. But what if I told you that Jim wasn't just being himself? What if Jim was acting odd for another reason? One that had to do with a specific person, someone who has a history of lurking in inappropriate places, is following me here, because this situation is likely to get out of hand. Word on the street is that Chrissy and Mendeecees' relationship isn't just about money. Oh no, according to our sources, there were rumors of late-night meetings, a low-key encounter, and some extremely strange behavior between the two. Listen, I want to disseminate rumors, but that's precisely what we're here to do. So let's get this straight. An unnamed person with knowledge of the matter recently revealed some startling information concerning a period when Jim Jones was. Perhaps he was just taking care of business. Tell me why these meetings were taking place at such late hours, and why no one should be aware of them. Let's discuss them. So-called business agreements because, well, Mendeecees' business always gets a bit too entangled, if you see what I mean. The worst part is that Yandy lost it when she learned about this. You know, when it comes to her boyfriend, Yandandy doesn't mince words. She would protect him no matter what, but even she was unable to ignore the warning signs when this story began to circulate. According to sources, Yanni challenged Mendeecees regarding his relationship with Chrissy, and let's just say that things did not work out. She began asking him questions that he was unable to respond to, and bringing up receipts that he believed to be hidden. The more she digging, further revealed that things weren't matching up. And this is where things start to get interesting, because Mendeecees doesn't explicitly deny anything. Oh no. Instead, he used the well-known, "Why are you bringing up old stuff?" When Yandi pressed him about it, he made a mistake. He told her that she was tripping, and that it wasn't what she had assumed, that people simply enjoy talking. He didn't tell her she was mistaken during those late-night visits regarding the timing of specific transactions. Instead, he simply became very quiet. And if there's one thing we all know about men, it's that they get silent when they're going. Pressed indicates that something is wrong. And let's not forget that Chrissy and Yandi have been at odds for years. Chrissy once made it plain that she didn't appreciate Yandi by calling her messy, rude, even accusing her of attempting to influence Jim's job. Now that she had learned that Chrissy and Mendeecees may have been acting shadily behind her back, Yandandi was prepared to leave, and that's precisely what she did. Instead of letting things go, however, she pulled up with all the smoke and receipts, and according on what we've heard, Chrissy wasn't prepared. Yundi enters the room calmly, but you know that's the dangerous kind of calm. The "I've got something for you" kind of calm, and approaches Chrissy directly as the private events exclusive. Guest list cameras roll. "So how long have you been playing with my husband and baby I?" she asks, staring her in the eye. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Chrissy was shaken and attempted to shrug it off by claiming Yandi was overdoing it, but Yandi wouldn't have it. She took screenshots of transactions and extracted texts that appeared too personal for just business. And when Chrissy attempted to dismiss it, Yandi revealed the truth. "I have someone who witnessed you two together, and they are prepared to speak with you." That's where part 1 yendi us. But the scandal is just getting started. So remain hooked in, because, believe me, it just gets more bizarre from here. Part 2. Oh, we're going even further into the crazy. Chrissy froze for the first time. The woman who was 10 steps ahead of her, and always prepared for a reply. It appeared as though she had been caught entirely unprepared, and she had screenshots, timestamps, and most crucially, someone who had seen it all. And you are already aware of Chrissy's tendency to laugh in Yandi's face, as if the entire situation were a joke when she is backed into a corner because she finds it difficult to fold. "Girl, you must be really bored to be making up stories like this," she said. Yandandi, however, didn't flinch when she took out her phone and tapped the screen and remarked, "Before you burst out laughing, you might want to hear what this individual has to say." The actual commotion began at that point, as the entire room went into silent. Chrissy's demeanor briefly changed, but Yandi saw the little glimmer of anxiety, and that was all Yandi needed. Let's now discuss this mystery witness. Since who was? Here's where things get complicated. How does this individual have direct knowledge of Chrissy and Mendeecees' purported business? The individual in question is none other than a Mendeecees' former associate. Let's call him Dre, who used to manage some of his transactions. Having known Mendeecees for years, Dre was familiar with how Mendeecees operated and met up with. He had receipts, so let's take a moment to consider where he transferred his money, and, more significantly, who he was hanging out with while he wasn't with. Chrissy continued to pretend she didn't care, sipping her drink as if Yandi's words didn't matter. However, when Yandi pressed play on the audio recording, the entire room became silent. Dre's explanation of how he personally drove Mendeecees to Chrissy's location was so clear that you could hear him say, "I keep this low-key. I don't need no extra eyes," several times on me. And the line that had the biggest impact was Mendeecees told me himself. Chrissy has something over him, which is why he kept returning. At this point, the tension in the room was so intense that a knife could cut it. Chrissy's expression changed, from arrogant to icy. But Yandandi, oh, she was. "You want to keep laughing now, or should I keep going?" she asked, leaning in, clearly enjoying this. At that point, Chrissy lost her temper and quickly got up to get her drink. She overflowed, pointing at Yandy's face as if she were about to throw her fists, saying, "You really believe I got to explain myself to you? Over a few, it's humiliating that you're contacting Yandandy with a fake-ass recording. But here's the thing. She wasn't just talking. She had proof. She displayed a text thread that had been forwarded from an unidentified insider. Shared a thread between Mendeecees and Chrissy. It wasn't very romantic, but the wording seemed suspect. Mendeecees, are you sure everything is going well? No one asked. Chrissy, you know I've got this. Just keep taking care of what has to be done. As long as you keep your end tight, I won't be concerned about anything else. Tell me, what does that sound like?" Mendeecees and Jim Jones had never been cool like that. So why was he handling anything for Chrissy? Unless there was more to it now. It was just business to you. Chrissy was furious and turned to the audience, shaking her head as if Yandandy was insane. You guys actually think this stuff is true. But guess what? Not everyone was standing up for her. When doubt seeps in, it spreads quickly, which is why Yandandy struck her with a final blow. The room was staring at her funny, and some people were murmuring, "If it's all lies, Chrissy, why are you looking so right now?" Chrissy felt uncomfortable, so she grabbed her bag, rolled her eyes, and stomped out. As you can already imagine, the internet went crazy with videos of the altercation, leaked within hours. Blogs took notice. Twitter was in ruins, and many began to seriously wonder whether this was the genuine deal, because, see, Mendeecees hasn't addressed anything, didn't refute it or attempt to clear his reputation. Instead, he simply remained silent. If we know anything about Mendeecees, it's that he enjoys defending himself. So why didn't he speak out now, unless he knew he couldn't at this point? Because Yanni was done with him. She took her kids out of the house and, according on reports, stopped returning his calls. This isn't a trivial dispute, because if what Yandandy was saying was accurate, then Mandy had been deceiving her for years. It also meant that Chrissy had been acting slyly the entire time. Finally, the most important question of all was, what exactly do Chrissy and Mendeecees have a relationship? Dre mentioned that Mendeecees informed him she had something on him, and that my friends were the part that shocked everyone. How could Chrissy know that? We are only touching the surface, because believe me, it goes much deeper. And in part 3, we will take it all in. Is Mendeecees still acting according to her rules? And why hasn't Jim mentioned any of this? People initially believed that perhaps Mendeecees and Chrissy had a previous relationship that Yandy was unaware of, such as before Jim before. But this is far from over, so stay tuned, something was happening between them. Yandandy. But that thought didn't last long, since new tea began to leak. And this was the portion that rocked the so-called industry. And source who says they have been in the company for years came out with facts that completely altered the story. Here is what they said. Mendeecees purportedly conducted some business back. We all know that Mendeecees served time for drug trafficking, back when that wasn't quite legal. But it seems like there's more to the story than we realized, since according to Chrissy, an insider was not just participating as an outsider, but also had connections to some of the same individuals Mendeecees was working with. Let's take a moment to consider that if that's true, then everything takes a very different turn. This is about Chrissy having actual legal power over Mendeecees, not simply about sly text messages and covert meetings. And that's why he can't break things off with her, because she might start talking to him, and Mendeecees can't afford that. Now, let's go back a little, because this part seems strange. Back in before Mendeecees was imprisoned in the early 2000s, he and Chrissy happened to cross paths in an unexpected way, since Chrissy had always been living on the streets. You may recall that she was moving with some real key players in the past, and according to reports, she was somewhat too familiar with the activities of some persons, such as Mendeecees, who likely believed he was safe when he was first imprisoned, was putting all of it behind her. But you can see that Chrissy remembered, and more significantly, she saved receipts because based on this alleged insider, Chrissy has evidence that could mean DC is in a lot of problems, which is why he can't leave her completely. He owes her, and it seems that she never forgets it. Now, this section is going to make your head turn, and when individuals began piecing together the facts and realizing that this wasn't the first time Chrissy had used information as leverage. In the past, she wasn't just a Jim Jones girl. She was also the mix with some of the most well-known hip-hop artists. And let's just say that she was able to move in a way that people weren't going to, because she knew things that people didn't want to be known. Cross her since she would start talking if they did. And now it appears that Mendeecees is just another victim of her web. This is where things get even more complicated because, as you may have noticed, Since Jim isn't the kind to keep his mouth shut, and Jones hasn't said anything, not even a tweet or a statement, why is he now acting as though he doesn't understand what some people are going through? Claiming that he was already aware of Chrissy and Mendeecees' arrangement, and that he might not want to smoke since. After all, if Chrissy had a grudge against Mendeecees, who's to say she doesn't also have a grudge against Jim? Since Yandandi left, the last time we looked, she took the kids, packed her bags, and vanished. Can you really blame her for this? That's why he's being quiet now, while everything is happening. This was likely the last straw for her, after everything she's gone through with Mendeecees. And if the rumours are accurate, Yandandi just avoided trouble, because let's face it, if Chrissy has been harbouring something, who's to say that after years of dominating Mendeecees, this drama won't eventually catch up with him? Well, the harm is already done. Chrissy's reputation has never been the cleanest, and this simply gives the fireman more fuel, and now he must respond to some important concerns. Yandandi may have just prevented a more catastrophic event, but the true question is, if Chrissy truly knows information about Mendeecees, what is preventing her from disclosing it? Or even better, what if she already has? What if the leaked text thread was simply the what if Chrissy is going to spill the beans and leave Mendeecees with no way out? This story isn't finished, and believe me, we'll be here to break the news as soon as the next piece of tea comes out. I need to know if you think Chrissy is actually harbouring resentment toward Mendeecees, or if this is just another instance of ugly industry drama. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Which side do you all support? If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Click the button, put up your alerts, and prepare yourself for this tale will only grow more crazy. I'll see you all in. The next one is coming up, and I can already tell that the comments section is going to blow up. So I have to ask, what do you guys believe is actually happening here? Is Chrissy out there? When everyone else is playing checkers, Mandy is playing chess. Is he truly locked in a circumstance he can't escape? More importantly, what is Yanni doing? Must take next, since if this drama continues, taking things as they are, I wouldn't be shocked if someone discloses even more receipts shortly. So feel free to drop them off. Tell me in the comments below whose side you're on. And remember, if you're looking for the newest, messiest, and most major controversies involving celebrities, that you must, now that I'm hooked in, hit that like button, slam that subscribe button, and activate those alerts. Since we isn't finished yet, and believe me when I say an update on this situation will have been more insane. I'll see you all in the following one.